Hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so as you can see, I've put the celery in. Now all I've done here is cleaned out this area, dug it all over. There's been loads of sort of potting compost from last year gone in there, so the ground's not really nice and fertile. And what I've done, I've basically planted the celery plants in this box. They do grow better in a box, and I've planted them around a foot apart. As you can see, I've put them in like this sort of grid formation, and they do grow best in this way. So I'll show you these as they grow, but over the last week or so they've had a real spurt on. As you can see, they've grown quite big. So basically what I've done is cleaned all this out, planted them out, and I'll show you these in a couple of weeks when they start to grow a bit more. Okay, so I'm going to put the turnips in. I want to put these seeds straight into the ground. There's two varieties here. This one's by Thompson and Morgan, and that's Turnip Golden Ball, and this one's Purple Top Milan. So this one I can sow most certainly now. That basically says, you know, right up until July, but starting in March. This one I'm a little bit early. It says basically sow from June onwards, but as the weather's been so nice, I thought I'd take it and put it in. I'm going to put these in exactly the same row, just like I did with the parsnips. I'm going to sow them thinly, both seeds down the same row, then I'll get a mixture running along the row. So I'll just show you me doing that now. Okay, so I'm just about to put the seeds in. As you can see, they're very small, round little black balls, and yes, you've guessed it, they're part of the brassica family. All the seeds are pretty much the same. So all I'm going to do is, you need to sow these at around ½ an inch deep. What you can do is grow a succession, or what you can do is sow them a little bit thicker and then just pull them out as and when you need them. So you need to be putting a seed or two every few inches along the row, like that. I'll just put the seed packet there so I know where I've been. And then all I typically do is just get some dried up lumps of ground like that, and then basically just sprinkle that over the top. This ground is a little bit damp because I watered here last night, because I've got the kale just next to it here. But all you need to do is sprinkle some ground over like that, and then just tap it down with your hands so that you know the ground is in contact with the seed, and then give them a reasonably good water, and then basically just leave them to it. They're a very easy crop to grow, and they don't need very much maintenance other than that. So obviously keep them weeded. If it dries out, give them a bit of water. But apart from that, that's all there is to growing swede. Now, as I say, what you can do is you can grow a succession of these, so plant some every sort of 3 to 4 weeks, because swede are and turnip are best sort of eaten when they're small. Grow them quickly and then eat them when they're small, and that's the best way to eat them, because then they're the most tender and the sweetest. Just so you know, a swede is just a Swedish turnip, so they're basically the same plant. So you grow them in exactly the same way. So if I was growing swedes here, it's exactly the same way as turnip. All you need to do is sow the seeds into the ground like that, and then you know, keep them well watered, and then pick them when they're young, and then you know, you can have a succession. So as you pick them, you can put some more seed in, or have a second row in there. But that's how you grow turnips and swede. Okay, so as you can see in here, the plants have really grown. Over the past week, with this humid weather that we've had, the plants have really come on no end. And as you can see, the tomato plants are basically about 9 foot tall now, so I'll be putting those in a little bit later on today, so I'll put a video clip together for those. But as you can see, the pepper plants have really started to grow. So the two greenhouses are going to sort of transform over the next couple of days now. All of these moneymaker tomatoes here, basically what I've had to do is put some over here in the week to try and sort of thin them out, because they were sort of growing into each other. So they're all going to go into the other greenhouse, and obviously we've got the other sort of Garden's Delight here as well. The Alicante tomatoes that I grew here, I'm unlikely to use them, to be honest. So I think I'm just going to put these money makers in. The Celery is going to go down into the garden very shortly. As you can see, that's grown really well. The celery here has already gone in the ground. So that's, you know, that's already in the ground, and that. So these pepper plants are going to be sort of potted up or planted into the ground in here. So all of these surfaces are going to go in here. I'm going to dig over the ground again down here. Then all of the pepper plants and that are going to go in here in like a tiered formation going back. So that's what the plants are doing at the moment. As I say, they're really growing quite quickly. So it's all sort of mad dash to get everything to the ground now. Okay, I'm just putting the tomatoes in, and just a few tips. Obviously, make sure your canes are perfectly solid. What I typically do is put the canes into the ground at the bottom, and then I tie them in with others. Well, these are all metal structures at the top here, and that's all tied into the roof, so none of this is kind of moving anyway. It's all completely solid, because the last thing you want is obviously when the tomato plants get laden with fruit, so there's tomatoes all down them, they can get quite top heavy. So what you don't want is for the structure to fall over, because obviously you can snap off your tomato plants and lose your entire crop. One really quick tip with tomato plants, what you can do to make the plants grow stronger is you can actually bury the plant a lot deeper than it is in the original pot, because what will happen is additional roots will start to grow from the side here. So basically the plant has more roots, therefore the plant is a lot stronger. So what you basically need to do, I'll just show you with this one. I'm doing this left-handed, so you'll have to excuse me. Basically what you need to do, obviously the ground this has got lots of chicken manure in it, it's very fertile, and it's basically loam and chicken manure in there. So as you can see, the hole that I've made there is deeper than the pot. Just quickly push out the tomato plant. Hang on 2 seconds. Right, okay, as you can see, the roots are formed really well, and then basically what I'm doing is I'm planting that around 2 inches or so. You can go even deeper than that if you wish. I typically pull all the leaves off that bottom bit there, and then basically what I'm doing is I'm burying the plant about 2 inches or so deeper than it was in the original pot, and then what will happen is additional roots will grow from the side here, and basically that'll make the plant a lot more stronger, and therefore as it's stronger and it's got more roots and it can feed more of a plant, obviously then you're going to get more fruit and bigger fruit, and a healthy plant all around. So one thing I would suggest is when you plant your tomatoes, if you haven't done so already, plant them 2 or 3 or 4 inches deeper than they were originally. Then you'll get all those additional roots going out, which will make for a better plant. Okay, so I'm just going to explain how to put some bean canes up. Obviously I've put the ones down the bottom. I just want to quickly explain to you how I basically do it, and this is the easiest way I've found to do it. What you need to do is obviously prepare the ground first, make sure that the ground's nice and loose. What you don't want to be doing is obviously putting the bean canes up and then finding you need to dig the ground or get weeds out or whatever, because obviously you're going to weaken the structure if you disturb the ground afterwards. The next thing you need to do is just with a piece of string and 4 sticks, work out exactly where your bean sticks are going to go. So basically that'll be one row of bean sticks, and obviously there'll be another row going along the back. What you need to make sure of is obviously you've got enough bean sticks. These are all 8 foot long bean sticks, and what you need then is one that's going to go along the top. So that's basically the one that runs along the top of the structure. And all I've done is I've joined 2 pieces together with a piece of old hose pipe. I don't know if you can see that. They're just basically 2 canes joined together to give me the length that I need. If it is slightly longer, don't worry, you can always either leave it, because it's up in the air anyway, or you can just cut stuff with a saw later. So the first thing you need to do is put in the two end pieces, and all you need to do is put 2 canes in at an angle so that basically what you do is you create the apex for each end, and then you can position the stick run across the top. So I'll just show you how to do that now. Okay then, so to make put the two end pieces in, what you need to do is basically put the two canes in, obviously, and they need to meet almost at the top. And what I suggest you do is select two good canes that aren't broken or damaged in any way, and they're nice and strong. And what you want to do is basically make sure that they cross over so that you're not stressing them in the ground. Okay, so after you've put the end one in, I've just put this extra one in here to hold where the join of the two pieces of cane is. Now the best thing you can do is basically step back at it and just make sure it's square. So if you step back and look down the structures, you can see they're in alignment with each other. That's the right thing to be doing, and obviously it's upright, it's not bending over to one side or the other. And then looking at it from the top, you can see the top one is straight. If you get that straight with just these few canes, then the rest of it, all you need to do is just put the canes in one by one, and then you'll see that they'll all line up at the end of construction. Okay, so as soon as you've done that, the rest of it's pretty much easy. So as soon as you've got the main structure, all you need to do is put a cane in, obviously against your string at the back. It's about every sort of six inches or so, and then from this side, obviously, you go from this side until push the cane down in position till you've got about 2 or 3 inches left at the top, and then work your way along. Obviously, the next pole goes in line like that. Try and get them as evenly spaced as possible, and then just push the cane down, as you can see, like that. It's easy with two hands, but push it down till you've got about 4 inches at the top. But push the cane down so it's at the right angle. What you don't want to do is stress the cane and have it all twisted all over the place. And then continue to do that. And the last trick basically is when you start running out of room. So basically what you need to do, just quickly explain, is you come close to the next pole there. As you can see, I've got that much space, so what I want to do is get about a third of that, like that. Obviously pushing the cane in straight, looking at the top, making sure that I don't push it in too far, and then the next one would go halfway between them two, like that. So as you can see, they're now equally spaced. Push that down until I get about the same at the top. Right, now that's all the back until, as you can see, I've got 4 more canes in between the two. Then all I need to do then is come up to the front, and then with the front ones, what you need to do is go underneath the crossbar at the top, and then down, and then just push that in parallel with the other one, like that. And then the next one, so you're going underneath the top bar like that, and then push that down into the ground opposite the other one, like that. And then all we need to do then is go back over and just tie all these together at the top with cable ties. So I'll just finish off the rest of the row and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so as you can see from this angle now, all of the bean canes are in a straight line. Obviously the bean canes aren't going to be absolutely perfectly straight, so you are going to get some bean sticks that stick out a bit further than others, like these. For example, that one's sticking out a bit further. But what I would suggest you do is tie them on with cable ties at the top. Don't tighten them absolutely as tight as you can get them, then you can still move this backwards and forwards. As soon as you're happy that it's in exactly the right position, then tighten it up then. But the one thing that you do need to do is, obviously this structure now has got strength this way, in kind of this direction. As you can see, I can't move it backwards and forwards, but in that direction, sort of that backwards and forwards, this will basically move back and forth now like that. And that will happen in the wind, and obviously when you've got the weight of the beans on there, it's going to become unstable. So what you need to do is put in diagonals, and all that is get another bean cane and either go from the bottom there up at an angle to this one here, and then tie it in with cable ties on each of those, or go the opposite way and do it that way. Now it doesn't really matter which way you do it, but if you just show you on this one here, as you can see, I've done exactly the same thing at the end of here. So I've got another cane going up at an angle, as you can see, and I've tied it in at the top, on the first cane, on the third cane, and also at the bottom. So that's going to stop the whole structure moving backwards and forwards. If you don't do that, you've got a very good risk of it falling over in the wind. So all you need to do, as I say, coming back to this one we just partially done, is put your cane in. What I always do is go in at the bottom corner like that, and I always put it on the inside, but I'll show on the outside for now. And as you can see, that will push into the ground like that, and all I need to do now is tie that in to here and to here, and that will stop the whole structure moving backwards and forwards, and that'll be a nice steady structure moving into the you know, the future as the beans sort of grow up it. What you can do is, if you've got a really long one like I've got here, what you can do is not only do it at each of the two ends. As you can see, there's one at the end there and also one at this end on both sides. What you can also do is put like a cross in the middle as well, or sort of go up and down in the middle as well. Then that will, you know, strengthen it even further. But I've found if you put one at either end, that's typically enough to stop it from falling over when the weight of the bean plants is on it. So I'll just put that on and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Okay, so that's it with the cross members in. As you can see, I've tied it in to each of the uprights, and all I've done is I've put a cable tie on each one and I've cut off any excess, so as you're picking beans or whatever, you've not got cable ties in the way. Obviously the ones at the top are neither here nor there, because you know, the beans will be coming down at this side. The other alternatives you can do other than this is to put this sort of cross piece actually in the middle, so you end up with the poles being more of a cross. And I would recommend, if you've got the room, to put them slightly further apart than I have here. I typically put them about 3 foot apart, 2.5 to 3 foot apart. These are, well, I'd say that's probably less than 2 foot. The reason I've done that is obviously I need to get down the back here of this tunnel to pick the beans, so obviously I'm a little bit limited for space here. But if you look at the other one that I've got down at the front here, where I'm not limited for space, you'll see that I've actually left a bit more room. So there, you know, I've got a good healthy sort of 2.5 foot there, which makes for a more stable structure. But to be honest with you, you know, if you're watering the beans, you know, on a regular basis, and also you've got good fertile ground, you know, there's no reason why you can't put them this close together. Planting the beans, I'll show you that in a moment, but basically all you need to do is plant the beans on the inside of the canes. Reason being is, if you've got a path like I've got here, as you're walking down the path, what you don't want to do is catch the bottom of the plant, obviously, because then that'll break the plant off from the roots. So what I always do, I'll just show you on these here that I've already planted. I always plant the bean plants on the inside of the canes. I don't know if you can see, but they're planted just on the inside. So as you're walking down the outside of the beans, and as you're watering and stuff, you're not going to catch the bottom of the plant and break it off, so they'll basically wind themselves up the poles from there. And the bottom, because the root of the plant's on the inside of the structure, it's a lot more protected than it would be if they were on the outside, because you could potentially catch it with your foot as you're walking up and down picking the beans. So that's the best recommendation. So I'll just show you me planting the runner beans in here. Obviously the ones that I've got in there so far, those are the French beans, or the string beans. This structure here is exactly the same, but what I'm going to have here is the runner beans up these poles here. I'm keeping them separated like I've got here. Reason being is, what I don't want is for the beans to cross-pollinate. If you're not saving the seed, it doesn't really matter, you could put them next to each other. But because I'm going to be saving the seed from the French beans and also the seeds from the runner beans, I don't want them too close together, otherwise I'll get cross-pollination, and then obviously I'll get some strange hybrid between the two beans. But that's basically how you put the structure of the beans together, and I'll show you now quickly, just putting some beans actually in the ground. Okay then, what is the best time to put beans out? Right, you need to be putting beans out at the end of May, towards the end of May, beginning of June. As soon as your plants get to this stage where they're throwing up long runners like this, you want to get them out of the pots and into the ground. The reason being is, within the next couple of days, these plants are going to really shoot, and all of these plants are going to start ravelling together, and before you know where you are, all of your plants are all twisted and matted together. So as soon as they start to grow like this, where the plants are a foot or more long, you need to get them out of the pots into the ground, or separate the pots as much as you can do so they don't wrap around each other, because they'll start to wrap around some structure near them, and obviously that'll be the next plant to them, so they'll start wrapping themselves up, and within a week or two they're just one complete mass of knots in the middle if you're not careful. So I'll just plant some of these in now, showing you how I do it, and then you'll be able to do it for yourself. Okay then, so this is easy enough to do. All you need to do, obviously your ground's already dug over, ready to go, so all you need to do is make a hole on the inside of the, this is the inside of the structure. Tap out your bean plant. Try not to break the pot as you're doing it. As you can see, there's really good root structure at the bottom of there. And all you need to do is drop it in the ground. You can plant it slightly deeper than it was in the pot, but what you want to do is face the plant towards the cane you want it to go up, and then it'll naturally find its way and it'll wrap itself around from there on in. What you might need to do, particularly if it's windy, is you might need to come up and just guide them round, you know, to start them up the poles. What I have found in the past is when we've had a windy period, what's happened is the beans have kind of unravelled themselves off the poles a little bit. So what you need to do is just start it off going up the pole, and then you'll find that if you sort of just lean it against the pole like that, it'll soon work its way up. And before you know it, as soon as you get the first foot or two of the plant on the pole, it'll just, you know, just carry on. So all I'm going to do now is just carry on planting these along. What I will be doing in the next couple of weeks when I cut the grass is putting some grass cuttings on the inside of here, just to mulch it and to keep the moisture down. What I would recommend you do when you first put the plants in is water them every night for at least a week or two, and also put some slug pellets up, because slugs are known to eat bean plants when they're young. As soon as they've been in the ground a couple of weeks, the slugs will leave them alone, but just so you don't get any damage from slugs, I recommend you put some slug pellets up the row after you've watered them for the first time. Unless you have rain, I would recommend you water them every night, at least for the first week or two they're in. Obviously if you get any dry periods, again water them. The more you water them, the stronger they'll grow, the more beans you'll get, so it's within everybody's interest to keep them well watered. And that's all there is to do with the beans in May. Okay, so that's it finished. So basically we've got 20 runner bean plants at the back and 20 at the front, so that's 40 in total, which is more than enough for me this year. I don't know if you remember last year, but I had probably about twice that, if not more, and I ended up basically having more beans than I knew what to do with. So I'm growing a lot more of the French beans this year, and the runner beans I'm just growing basically the 40 plants, which is more than enough for me. Right, so they've basically all been put in. As you can see, the ones at the back are facing backwards towards the poles, the ones at the front are facing forwards towards the poles, so they'll now grab on and sort of wind them way up the poles. They've all been watered. I've put some slug pellets down just to protect them, and I'll be watering them again tomorrow night, just to make sure that they're you know, damp enough, depending on the weather. Obviously if we do have rain, I shan't bother, but if we don't get any rain tomorrow, I'll give them another good watering, and just keep watering them until basically the plants really establish themselves and start to grow up the poles. So that's what they look like at the moment. I'll show you in the next few weeks as soon as they've started to work their way up the poles. Okay, so as you can see, the gourds here, these are the pumpkin plants, and then we've got the butternut squashes and also the courgette plants. These have been outside for a couple of days now, sort of hardening off a little bit, so these are ready to go in the ground. So as you already know, the ground's already prepared, so I'll show you me putting that in now. Okay, so all the gourds are going to go into this area here. Now the ground's already been prepared, as I explained in the last video, so I shan't go over that again, but basically it's had loads of grass, loads of compost, loads of you know, all sorts of goodness put into there, wood chip and everything. That's all been dug in. There's even some ash here, and what I'm going to do is basically plant out all of the gourds in this area here. Ideally I'd have more space than this to put them in, but as I'm limited on space, I'm basically going to plant them as I can along here. Now the courgette plants are going to take up around sort of 2 to 3 foot square, so I'm going to plant them along here because I don't want them to be intruding on, I don't want any plants intruding on anything over here. And then the squash plants and the pumpkins, they tend to sort of throw runners around and sort of grow all over the place. So I'm going to be planting them over here, and what I can do then is guide them to sort of grow between between the tunnel there, and they can also go up over into the rhubarb if they want to. So I can sort of plant them around here, and they can sort of intermingle and sort of grow all over the place. But really, for this many gores, I could do with, to be honest with you, an area kind of this big to grow them in. But I'm going to try and grow them in this area as best I can. What I may well do is actually put a couple of the squash plants into the tunnel over there and let them grow amongst the kale plants, because there they can trail along the ground and that won't interrupt with the kale plants too much. So I'll just get them planted in here, and I'll quickly show you me doing that now. But basically all you need to do is you get your trowel. We'll start with a courgette plant. I think these are courgettes, yeah. Obviously they all look alike at the moment. So the first courgette plant's going to go here, and you want to go in at least a couple of foot from the side. As you can see, this ground's really nice, and really nice moisture retentive ground. And what you want to do is plant them on at the same level as the soil is at the moment. Obviously this soil's going to go down slightly, but you don't want to plant them in a hollow, because if the bottom gets wet, they can rot off if you're not careful. So you want to plant them at the same level as it was in the pot, like that. The ground's nice and warm. If I put my hand on the ground feels nice and warm. If the ground feels warm, then you know it's the right time of year to put them in the ground. Right. So it's no more complicated than that. Obviously I'll give them a good watering in, and what I recommend you do is to put a stick in by the plant, because as soon as these start to grow you can't see where the root is. If you put a stick in, you'll be able to find out where to water as you're watering along the row. Okay, so that's the majority of the gores planted. So I've got the 5 pumpkins planted here in the ground, and obviously what you do need to do is make sure the ground is really rich and loose, so that the roots can get away, and they'll sort of grow really quickly. And then we've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are butternut squashes, so they'll sort of trail all over the place. So this will be one massive plant here. And then here we've got the 3 courgette plants. I've got 3 butternut squash plants left over there, so what I might do is, well, what I will do is plant those 3 in one of the 2 tunnels, and then they can trail around the back of the brassicas and sort of grow that way. So I'll plant them. I might even plant one up by the 2 greenhouses, so it can sort of go around there as well. But wherever you plant them, make sure that the ground is nice and fertile, and then they'll grow away really well. So what I need to do now is put a stick in where each of these plants are now, you know, because I know where they are. Give them a good watering, and then they should be off to a good start. And before you know where you are, all of this patch here will be completely covered in gourd plant. So I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you got below, and I'll always get back to you. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Little Garden.